anymore. I was like, I really needed because
No more
COVID,
scruffies.
no more scruffies. You got the real Greg today.
Yes. Okay. Well, Greg, I'm going to introduce you. I don't know if my audience they're here, they're chilling out with us. Greg is a producer and director for I would say social impact documentaries or just documentaries across the board. He's
Yeah, I mean,
also an
I
author.
yeah, fine.
Yes, he's an author of this fabulous book. It's called Rooted in Peace, which, by the way, I watched your documentary last night. I actually watched it all the way through. And I have to say, I was extremely tired. So I was laying in bed, which is probably not the best way to watch a movie because once you lay in bed, your brain goes, okay, it's time to go to sleep. But I got through it. It was great. I thought there was some great lessons in there. I learned a lot. Your book is right here. It's called Rooted in Peace. It's available on Amazon. And then tell me your movie's available also on Amazon.
It is. It also is available on Amazon. That is correct.
Amazing. So if you're looking for a great documentary that's educational, that's eye-opening, Deepak Chopra's in this. He also wrote the foreword, right, for your book,
Correct.
which is amazing. He said, inspirational and enlightening is Greg Reitman's book, Rooted in Peace. So welcome to my show, Greg.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So it's so funny because I am obsessed with Clubhouse, as you know.
I do. I do. I see you all the time,
You
and
see
you're
me all the
awesome.
time. Yes.
I
And
hear you. I hear you all
you
the
hear me
time.
all the time. You see my little avatar. But so I met Greg because he came into one of the rooms that I was either hosting or modding. I don't remember. Maybe it was Brian Rader's room. But you came into one of my rooms and somebody introduced us and they brought you up and they're like, Greg is great. He has a book and da da da. And so here we are. Clubhouse, another guest from Clubhouse. My guest next week is from Clubhouse. I think the week after that, my guest is from Clubhouse. So this is super fun. And I actually, because there's so many authors that I'm meeting on Clubhouse, I've had to add a whole day. So now I'm doing Wednesday and Thursday, Sally's book club. So I have another author tomorrow. But anyway, let's talk about your book. It's called Rooted in Peace. And I want to know, Greg, like what, because I think there's always a why of why people write books and why people create movies. So what was your why in writing Rooted in Peace?
Well, let me just first off by saying thank you, Sally, for having
You're
me.
so
I,
welcome.
I, I normally don't get interviews via Clubhouse. I have to say this is my first interview that I've ever solicited on Clubhouse, which I think is really amazing. Normally, I go through traditional channels. So, one, thank you for bringing me on as a guest. I really enjoyed your moderation as I was listening, and I think it was Byron Martin from Canada that brought me up, and
Who
he's an
was
old
it?
friend. Byron Martin.
Oh,
Um,
Byron. Yes, yes, yes. Byron. I'm going to grab
yeah.
another pillow, but go ahead. Keep
So
talking.
I've been friends with Byron for a long time.
Okay.
And, the why is really, this was sort of, the book actually took a while. We started the book proposal and which is a pretty intensive experience in terms of writing. You have to write an overview, you got to write 2 chapters. You really have to flush out what your book is about. And then we actually, pitched it, or I had a book agent, Anne Marie O'Farrell out of New York, who's an amazing book agent, who pitched it, and we didn't get a home actually. We then made the documentary, and it was only after the documentary where Anne
Oh,
Marie then said, "Oh, by the way, the Wellen Publishers would like to publish your book." So actually, it was going on concurrently,
okay.
and so it was actually really amazing because I had finished the film, and there were a lot of things in the film that I couldn't say or couldn't visualize. It was very expensive to do a lot of so a lot of the writing and a lot of the words interviews were
Mm-hmm.
more dense. And so that really, so there's a lot more information, I would say, in the book than in the film. And I think actually, to be candid, I think the book is actually better than the film because, trying to show consciousness-based entertainment in a documentary as a first-person character, I think in itself is hard enough to do. But the book itself, I think, lends itself to, you can stop, you can pause, you don't have to, like a film, you have to watch the whole thing. A book, you can just read the first chapter, you can put it down, then you can read another chapter, et cetera, et cetera. But the why was really just the genesis of our world. It was sort of post 9/11, and I had an experience at JFK Airport where I almost got arrested for not giving up my bottled water.
Oh,
And,
wow. What do you mean
and
by what does that mean?
well, just the way, like we have canisters, like when you carry water, and like, after 9/11, our world changed. And so as I was going through the airport security, the air bomb had gone off, everything had changed. I didn't obviously follow the news report. And so, everything had shifted. And so, what I experienced was probably the most intense experience of my life. I was behind two Arab women who were wearing their hajij, and they had even a harder time going through security because they were being profiled as Muslim.
Right. Which is so
And
sad.
yeah, and I was also being relegated because I didn't want to give up my bottled water. And I was like, look, I'm drinking it. What's wrong with you? And the guy's like, look, if you don't give me your water, we're going to arrest you. And I was like, wow, this is America. Like, what is going on with
That's
America? What's going on
crazy.
with our freedoms? Like, this is like the country that I grew up as a little boy, 5 years old. My grandpa would take me to like the Statue of Liberty. I'd look out, I'd look out, for freedom. And I was like, God, our world has changed. And so it
Yeah.
reminded me of my experiences of living in Israel during the first Gulf War, and
Right, right.
seeing a country and how
Yeah.
war changes you, and how it just shuts down all your everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Becomes,
So
yeah,
I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to we have so much
sure,
to talk about. So I want to like keep your
sure,
give me
sure.
the bullet points of all of your stuff that's happening. So I want to go here real quick. I want to show everybody your book, which is available on Amazon for is that right? It's so cheap. Hang on. It's $3.38.
Yeah, I mean, we went through a huge run. So, so whatever's available, I guess, is the last of that
Right.
batch.
Okay.
So I think they printed about 5,000 copies of
Okay.
whatever left, which is a great run. I'd also just
Amazing.
mention that, like, we were very fortuitous. I mean, the book, I think we applied for 3 awards for the book, and we won all three. So I won like best
Wow.
virtual author of the year, best memoir, best life story. So that really, I think, helped catapult sales.
Absolutely. Well, it's our feature for today. It's rooted in peace. So I want to go to the book a little bit, and then I want to talk a little bit about the movie because I watched the documentary as well. So let's
Okay.
go to a little bit of your book. So I asked you last night, how do how do you want me to feature your book? And you said, well, I have these like quotes in each chapter. So let's just do that because I think that's a great idea. And it's sort of, you could talk a little bit about each chapter. So the
Sure.
first chapter is called Losing and Finding Our Way, which I think so many of us lose and find, and then we lose again, and then we find again. And Deepak Chopra was actually your first quote, which is incredible. And I want to know how you got Deepak. I want to know that story, but let's just go there real quick. You cannot fix the world. You can only fix yourself. And that is hard enough. Ain't that the dang truth?
I mean, that's really the I would say the litmus of the whole journey, was, I think when I got angry, I would yell and scream and rant,
Mm.
and I just didn't really feel like that behavior was appropriate.
Right, and you talk a little
And
bit about that in your movie, which we'll talk
yeah,
about
and I
as well.
couldn't figure out what was causing that. Really, the bottom line is, what are the triggers? And we all get triggered,
What are the
right?
triggers? Yes.
Yeah, so the lesson here was really for me to understand, like, what were my triggers, and to really move through that. And and then there
Yeah.
are tools that you could use that I learned along the way to help me to sort of remove these knots.
Yes, I
And
want to talk about those tools because I think tools
okay,
are so important. It's the thing that people need because we can all have the tool belt with no tools in it. And then life just
right,
goes on and we continue being the same person over and over. And there's
yeah,
nothing that's sort of, it's almost like a screwdriver. There's nothing that's sort of adjusting us. Sometimes we need to be adjusted, right?
yeah.
I want to go to our chat a little bit because Rosalinda says, great to hear, Greg, that you became that voice and stood up, that enough that you had to be tough. Yes. And then she also said, yes, love that quote by Deepak, right? So let's talk, just give me like your top 5 tools that you learned when you knew you were getting angry, you're taking it out on your girlfriend and, you know, your family members and people in your life, maybe coworkers. And then, you know, I'm assuming you had some therapy and some form of transformation, whether it was through a book or however you were meeting Deepak, maybe was your transformation. Give me 5 of your main tools that you use now when you do get triggered. And what are some of those triggers?
Yeah. So first things first, Buchanan, I definitely was affected by the first Gulf War and had a little bit of PTSD wearing a gas mask. Second, I was hit by a car when I was 5 years old. Someone ran over my leg. So I was traumatized at 5, right? So that's a horrific experience that any family member, mom, dad, sister had to go through to watch their little boy, Greg, get hit by a car. So traumatic, femur in contraction for a month, and then took another month to heal.
Yeah.
So, the sirens that occurred when I was 5 were the same sirens that I heard in Israel during the first Gulf War. So PTSD never goes away.
PTSD, right.
And you really need to understand it, and you really need to synthesize it. And as I sat with General Wesley Clark, the general, who watched my film in Aspen, and he saw the film, and he said, Greg, he goes, I even think I suffer from a little PTSD.
See, we all do, I think. I feel
and
like
he said, thank you so much for, sharing your journey and sharing your truth. So what I would say is this, the best thing what I learned, which is the most simplest thing, was taking walks, and particularly taking walks in nature. There's nothing better than smelling the fresh air, smelling the roses, hearing the birds chirp. There's something that synthesizes our body and balances us. So
absolutely.
that's the easiest thing you can do.
Taking long walks.
But in nature though, like hiking trails,
sure.
Like specifically, not just like on a paved road, but actually hearing the birds
yes. chirp. By the way, before you move on, I want to just say this because I can relate. I live around a lake with ducks, and I walk around every day. I hear the birds. I play with the ducks, the whole thing. So I'm 100% with you on that. What else?
And when the dogs quack, I mean, I love dogs.
Yes.
It's really
and sometimes they hiss at you. They're like, and it's like, wait, I'm not trying to hurt you. I promise.
So really listening to nature.
Yes.
And I think that will really center you.
Absolutely.
The second thing, which is really a tool, which might even be the easiest thing, is actually drinking alkaline water.
Ooh, that's good.
Water is so important. We're 80% made of water. So you don't, so the idea of like putting healthy water in your body.
Yes.
So you don't realize it, but if you're alkaline and you're not acidic, you're going to feel better. You're going to be less triggered. You're not going to feel slow and lethargic. And so that's a very simple change that anybody can do. The third thing, which I would say is probably as you get a little bit more advanced, and there's lots of them that I learned because I wasn't a meditator during my journey. And when I became a meditator, I met a lot of amazing gurus who all had their different meditation practices.
Yes.
So I'm just going to say this, like there's different formulas and there's different there's different mechanisms to meditate, but meditation in itself is an alchemy. And what it's doing that you don't realize it's I almost say it like this, it's coating your nerve ends.
Yes.
So
that makes so much sense.
So everyone has anxieties, right?
Yes.
And so stress. How do you deal with that? And so learning, I almost think of like learning how to coat your nerve ends, learning how to meditate, and having a practice. For me, I was fortunate. I met David Lynch along the way, and I was, gifted a transcendental meditation mantra. There were other mantras that I was also given as well, but someone who never did a mantra, didn't even know what a mantra was.
Yes.
For me, it was all Greek. And so, getting a meditation practice, I would say, is really the beginning of your transformation.
Yes. Okay. And so pause, because if somebody comes on the show and they see a talking head, they're going to go away. So let's keep everything one at a time and let me respond to those things. I'm going to reset very quickly. I know my audience very well on Amazon. They're like 2 seconds and they're in and out, right? So we're going to do a quick reset because I love to do my MBC reset. So are you ready for the reset, Greg? All right, here we go. We are resetting the room. My name is Sally Colon, and you are watching Sally's Book Club. And I'm here with my new good friend from Clubhouse, Greg Reitman, and he's an author, and he's also a producer-director for social impact documentaries. And we're talking about his new book. It's called Rooted in Peace. You can also, it's available right here on Amazon. Let me go ahead and show you the link. It's one of our featured items, so it's in our carousel, so make sure you check that out. It's like under $4, and it's such a beautiful book. It's going to change your life, so make sure you check that out right now. Greg and I are talking about your triggers, what causes them, and some tools that Greg has in his tool belt that helps him through the PTSD, through the triggers that he goes through, and helps him be a better person and kinder person to the people around him. So you said number 1 was be one with nature, take your walks. Number 2, drink some alkaline water. And number 3 was?
Meditate.
And let's go to 4 and 5, and then we'll move on to the next chapter.
So number 4 is also, I'm going to make these really easy. I don't want to make them complex, but the 4th one is listen to music every day.
Ooh, what kind of music? Just music you love?
That's for you.
Okay,
you know, because
got it.
music actually, again, is a meditation, right? So what it's doing is it's creating, these neurons that make you feel good, right? The song, maybe you're singing.
Do you think even like heavy metal can do that for you?
No, each to their own.
To each his own. Okay, got it.
I'm not here to judge, but what I will say is this: even heavy metal, if it sends endorphins, right?
Yes.
If it makes you feel good and makes you want to jump up and makes you, feel
gets you excited, sure.
Yeah,
reminds you of something from your past.
Yeah. So the music is a really big thing.
Okay, so wait, before you move on, what's your music? What makes your endorphins go like wild?
Well, I have a playlist, so I listen to music like all the time.
Top 3 artists.
I love the Beatles. I love U2. I love Sting. So those are my 3. I mean,
okay, so Rosalinda says, I grew up listening to music my whole life. I so can relate. She said, no, Sally, LOL, no heavy metal. You know what? To each his own. I agree with you. Heavy metal could be somebody's favorite type of music because they grew up with it. It reminds them of stuff. For me, I'm into, I'm Puerto Rican, so I love my salsa. I love my Sinatra, and I'm a pastor's kid, so I love worship. So those are like the 3 things that like get my endorphins going. This morning, I posted on Insta story me dancing salsa because that's what makes me happy.
So dancing.
Yeah, dancing. Yes.
And again, and you're sending your endorphins. So
yes.
So I'm gonna do the last one. I'm gonna give you like the whole caboodle. So So the big thing that I learned, which is h to the 3rd power. So Einstein had E equals mc squared. And what I learned was this: a healthy mind, a healthy heart, and a healthy body equals a healthy world. So this is really like in your takeaway. So if your mind is healthy, if you're meditating, if you're using your intuition, if you're using your love and compassion, and your heart is open, and if you're putting the right foods in your body, right, will equal a healthy world. In other words, you'll be part of nature.
Yes.
So that's really the alchemy that I learned in Rooted in Peace. It was everything just seemed so complex, and it just got so simple.
Right.
Because if you really take the time, what I mean by a healthy mind is simple. Every day I journal. Every day I create an intention.
Great. Yes.
Intentions are really important.
Yes.
Like setting your intention.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you want your day to look like?
Yes.
And really being empowered by your day.
Yes, absolutely.
So anyway, I don't want to.
Yes. So let's do this really quick. Let's just do
I'm pausing, Sally. I took your note.
What'd you say?
I said I'm pausing.
Yes. Okay, yeah, because again, it's like Clubhouse. It's like any app. You're going to get 5 to 10 seconds of someone's attention, and then they're like, what's next? Like somebody else needs to talk, or somebody show me a picture. Here's a picture of his book. It's called Rooted in Peace. It's available on Amazon. Also his movie, which is also titled Rooted in Peace, is available on Amazon. You can download it. I watched it last night. I do want to talk about that, but I want to say, Gina's here. Say hi to Gina. Good afternoon, everybody. Gina's one of my favorite chatters. She's on here with me live. She comes on all my shows, like Rosalinda and Sam. A bunch of us are here. Rosalinda said, yes, Greg, you are so on point everything else will equal a healthy world. Gina, you're just joining us. I'm with my special guest. His name is Greg Reitman. He's a producer director and he's an author. We have his book right here called Rooted in Peace, and he just broke down the 5 things that help him when he gets triggered. And it was be one with the earth, take a walk, maybe even go outside and take your shoes off and just put your feet in the grass so you're like connected to the earth. Number 2, drinking alkaline water. Number 3, listening to music. I'm probably not doing this in the right order. No, number 3 was meditation. Yes, meditate. Number 4 was music, and then number 5 you said was.
Well, I was really breaking it down like a healthy world, like really healthy world, like
yes.
eating right, using your heart, to
yes.
making your decisions out of love and compassion, rather than using your left brain rather than your right brain.
Absolutely,
right?
yes. And Gina,
and the other thing,
go ahead. I was going to say, Gina says, love all of the above. Hi, Greg.
Yeah, and the other thing I also do that I really changed, in terms of my diet, which we were talking about, like the healthy food, is
yes.
I drink a half a glass of celery juice every morning.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so celery juice is really, one, it's really good for your skin.
Sure.
2, it's really good. It's a diuretic, so
yes.
it flushes all of the toxins out. And again, it's all about how we reset, right?
Yes.
How do you set your day?
Absolutely.
And so these are simple things that you can do.
Yes.
And like now I do them like every day. Like I wake up in the morning, before even I start my day, 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, you do your juicing.
I just know it's like half a glass of celery juice.
Absolutely.
And it's a pause. And I won't really have breakfast probably till 8. So I really give that, that hour to like for digestion, which again, you're just more aware of your body. And,
right.
and the thing you were asking about triggers is, our bodies are, how do I describe it? But we're sentient beings, like we're feeling creatures, right?
Yeah.
And so, we have energy and we get compounded by information, by people. And all these things can trigger us. We might not even realize it, but someone could say something and it could remind me
absolutely
from the time when I was in Israel or from the time when I was 5 years old. So we don't really understand them.
I think also, Greg, that one person could say something to you, another person can say the same exact thing, but there's something about that person in the way they said it, their tone, how you feel about them that can trigger you. So that's
Correct.
The other thing is having the right people around you that don't just tolerate you, but they celebrate you, because you can feel the difference when people are in your life. You can feel the difference when you have those friends that are everything.
Now you're talking about gardening and weeding. You're talking about
100%.
And I didn't talk about that too, but there's the physical gardening.
Absolutely, 100%.
And then there's also the mental, emotional weeding out. And I didn't really want to get that much of a deep dive with you, but I'm happy to share that.
Well, okay, so let me finish. So let me just quickly finish my thought. So you have different friends in your life. Some are going to trigger you. There's the people that are like, they're constantly celebrating you. They're not just telling you what you want to hear, but if there's something they do want to say to you that maybe that's not working for them in the friendship, then they say it in a way with love, right? Then there's those friends that like, they just are just tolerating you. And I don't even know why they're like in your life. And you're just like, wait, this doesn't feel right. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably because it's not a good relationship. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, you're right on the nose. You're speaking truth, right? And so this is probably the greatest lesson that you could ever learn, is really understanding how important it is to be social,
right?
And how important it is to really pick and choose the right people that really augment you,
absolutely,
that are going to amplify you. And so this is I talk about like gardening and weeding, like that's another part of in my toolkit. I love to garden,
right?
Which I think is really important, because you're putting your hands in the earth, and if there's something about connecting to nature, as I would probably put that as one of my 5th things. But the weeding out of negativity, which is probably critical in terms of your own health and well-being, is utmost important. And it's really you taking a litmus test and really looking at, like, does this relationship serve me? Does this relationship fulfill me? Is this a genuine relationship? And what is the relationship? And I would just pause it by saying you should look at all your relationships, both family, close friends, girlfriend, boyfriend, loved ones, co-workers, collaborators.
Absolutely.
And the more that you can really weed
Yes.
out.
Yes.
And here's the thing is this, people think, oh my God, like I'm going to lose everyone. No, every time you weed out,
Yes.
there's always someone new that will come into your
Yes.
life. And
Absolutely.
so the glass, so you can look at the glass as being half empty or half full.
Yes.
And it's really a perception of life. And I would just say the glass is always half full.
Yes. So guess what? We're going to reset the room again because you're giving me these long answers again. So if they're like reset to keep everyone's attention. So,
Right.
okay. So if you could keep your answers to like 60 seconds and then that way we can because I want to get through as much of the book as we can. We haven't even gotten into the movie yet. So short answers so we can get a bunch of information in so we can help people today. So I'm going to go ahead and reset the room. Here we go. Ready for the NBC reset?
I love it.
Bam, baby. So we're resetting the room. My name is Sally Colon, and you are watching Sally's Book Club. And today's guest is Greg Reitman. He's a producer, director of social impact documentaries. He's also an author of this book, Rooted in Peace, which is also the title of his film that's available on Amazon. The book and the film are available on Amazon. And I want to read some of our comments. The comments are going really fast as well. Let's just say this. Gina says she loves all of the above. Rosalinda says, I love juicing is fabulous. I changed my entire way of living and eating after New Year's. I am eating a whole food, low-fat, plant-based diet. Amazing, Gina. My body felt better after a week. It was amazing. Yes, Sally, you can. You totally can. I weeded out so many people that were toxic in my life. See, it's not just us. Rosalinda said, I can totally read a person the minute they walk in. I love that, Rosalinda. That's great. That's a perfect analogy. I'm assuming she's talking about something you said, Greg. And then Rosalinda says, gardening is so therapeutic. I love gardening. That is so true, Greg. Bing, bang, bong. I love that, Gina. So I want to go to chapter 2 because, well, first of all, before we go to chapter 2, give me the 60-second version of how you met Deepak and how he agreed to be not just one of the Fords in your book, but also in your movie. Hello. Tell me about that.
Well, look, I mean, you're talking about energy. I mean, Deepak is all about energy. So, when he met me, he read my energy and, and I was a neophyte. I mean, he really was very grateful and gracious about his time with me. And at the time I wasn't meditating. So it was probably even a more impactful interview.
Right.
But I was very blessed. I had a Tibetan friend by the name of Romeo Thresha, who was really all about love and peace and was Deepak's, really good friend. And so when I shared my story about Rooted in Peace, he made 2 calls. He called Donovan, the pop singer, and he called Deepak. And so I would even say within 10 minutes, Deepak called back and said, okay, let's do the interview. So we were in New York and within 10 minutes, we were running camera in his studio.
Wow. You did that, I think, in 60 seconds. I wasn't prepared for the short answer. That's incredible. Like I could tell stories after story of my film and the people that I had involved in my film that you're right, the energy, meeting people. Moby gave me all the music. I had the former First Lady of Kenya in my film, the former executive producer for Oprah, and all of those were because I met them through someone and they liked my energy, I liked their energy, and they're like, yes, let's go. So I agree with you, but Deepak, he's huge. So congratulations on that success. So let's go to chapter 2 and the title of chapter 2, Guns N' Roses. We're not talking about the band, or maybe we are. Let's read. In our mind, we have this crazy idea, and I would love to know where it really comes from. That we can kill each other, that we can actually train people to kill each other. And that's Mareed Maguire, Nobel Peace. What's that word? I don't even.
Nobel Peace Laureate. She's a Nobel Peace Laureate.
Yes. So tell me about that. Wow, that's intense.
It was really amazing. We were actually in Vancouver at the Dalai Lama Peace Summit, and there were 4 laureates. And interesting enough, Mary Robinson was my intended person that I wanted to interview. And Mary's like, no, you're going to interview Mareed Maguire.
Oh, wow.
And Mareed was really at the forefront of, the North and South in Ireland and, and the whole, what was going on with was it the NRA? Yeah. And the bombings and then, and the killing of children and really stood for peace. And so she was first of all, she's an incredible woman. She's she went to Gaza, and fought for those children, in the, between Israel and Gaza, which is a really another heart-ridden quarrel that still has not been settled in the world. And she just, it was very enlightening. And her big thing was like, why do we go to war? Why do we kill each other? And what does this solve?
Okay, good. So that's an amazing person to have met. I'm sure you learned a lot from her. I want to go over to chapter 5, militating for peace. Because I love this quote. It's another one by Deepak. I just want to quote him all day because I just love him. If you want to change the world, start with yourself. Be a good example. Otherwise, you'll end up being an angry peace activist, which is a total contradiction. So that's such a simple quote, but it's so revolutionary and so life-changing and so impacting. You know what? If you want to change the world, start with yourself. And I have to say something about that. I'm a mom of 2 teenage girls, okay? Aww. Just that in itself, I need a lot of prayer, okay? So send your prayers my way. 2 teenage girls in the world of social media and keeping up with the Kardashians. You have no idea how difficult that is. One of the women that's in our chat, Rosalinda, has 6 kids. I mean, I don't even know how she does it. I'm just trying to keep up with my 2, okay? But here's the thing that I will say. As moms, I don't know do you have kids?
Not yet, no.
Okay, not yet. But this is what I will say. One thing that's so beautiful about your change in life that happened before kids is that you were able to get you right first before you brought any children in the world, because we all have our generational curses, right? We all learn from our parents, they learn from their parents, and so on and so on. So I had my anger issues. I was judgy. I was triggered very quickly. All of that. I learned all of that from my mom, from watching my mom. My mom learned it from her mom, and so on, right? So I didn't go through my transformation until after my divorce, which was I was in my 40s. And so my girls, they were 9 and 10 when I went through my divorce. For the first 9 and 10 years of their life, they saw all the stuff I saw from my mom. Thank God, right, that I did go through my transformation, because not everybody does that. There's people that go to the grave without even ever being transformed, right? They're just themselves for the whole time in their life. They don't want to do therapy. They're fine with who they are. So great, Greg, that when you bring kids into the world, it's after your transformation and it's with tools. There's so many parents that bring kids into the world with no tools, with generational curses. They're giving you the same thing they got from their parents, which sometimes is not good, right? So I'm so glad for tools. And anyone that's watching right now, Rosalinda, Gina, Sam, the people that are watching right now, like, make sure that you have your tools so that you can teach your kids the tools so they can teach their kids and break those generational curses and move forward with being the best you that you could be, so that you could be the best you for other people in the world, right? Which is what I got from that quote. What's your thought, Greg?
Well, first things first, like that's you nailed it. Like you got right to the bottom of it. And I think everyone, like, you're talking about a global issue that every child goes through that, right?
Yes.
They see the hardship of their mom and dad, break up, and the divorce and the anger, and you're speaking again truth. So so this is really important that you're centered, that you understand what you're doing, and that you're going to be a good gardener, you're going to be a good nurturer, you're going to be a good teacher, you're going to be a good parent.
Yes.
Because you want the best for your children.
Absolutely.
I think in terms of the quote, and I'm trying to keep my answers very short for you now, is
don't make me have to reset the room.
Well, here's this. So that's probably one of the most important quotes, because one of the things I learned is when I made Fuel, which won at Sundance, I was all about activism, and I just saw a lot of angry activists. Yeah. And I said, this just doesn't work. You can't yell and scream and kick the can, and you're no better than the other person that kicks the can. And so the idea of how do you operate in a nonviolent world? Right. How do you resolve issues in a way that you can actually make a difference?
Absolutely.
And this is really, I would almost say it's a maturity.
Yeah.
It's actually, you asked something that was so important, Sally. You said, well, what triggers you? Yeah. Well, sometimes people might say something that can get you angry or get under your nose. Yeah. But the idea of is just be like, stay calm, just stay collective, and not let them unnerve you. Yes. Right? And be able to just filter through, and then just, with no emotion and be more succinct with them.
Yes, and I'm going to add something to that because what you just said was great. One thing that I learned when I got my tool belt and I was starting to put tools in it, that my therapist, my reading books, I have 60 books in my library in Audible. Brene Brown, Marianne Williamson, Mel
By the
Robbins.
way, and by the way,
Yes.
this book is also available on Audible as well.
Oh, good. Are
Um,
you reading it?
yes, they allowed me the privilege to read my
Yay,
own
good
book.
for you. So,
Yes.
this is what else I'm going to say. If somebody triggers you and you get really angry, whether it's your kids, a friend, a coworker, whatever it is, you're watching television, somebody says something that
Girlfriend.
triggers you. Let me say this. Yeah, a girlfriend, a boyfriend. When you get triggered, and this is something that I learned. I have to step back sometimes and go, am I triggered because they said something that was rude and like unacceptable? Or am I triggered because they said something that triggered something in me from my childhood that they didn't even know they tapped into? Then I have to stop for a second and go, don't get angry at that person. That's your hang up. That's your trigger from your childhood that they happen to say something that upset you. So take a minute and go, okay, that has nothing to do with them. That has everything to do with what's happening in my life. Then there's the opposite. There's the other side of, well, that has what they just said to angry me has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with them and what's going on in their life. So you got to decipher the difference between, am I angry because I haven't dealt with something from my past that they just kind of pinpointed, or am I angry because they said something to hurt my feelings and I have to go, you know what, that has nothing to do with me. That's based on their own hang up in their life, right? So you got to find the difference and you got to have those tools to be able to find the differences. Otherwise, you're screwed. And you're just going to be pissed off for the sake of being pissed off. What do you think, Greg?
Completely. I mean, look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a transmission, right?
Yeah.
So it's a communication. And again,
Absolutely.
and you'll also notice, like, look, the key thing I can say is this: you're asking super intelligent questions, and the greatest gift I can give in this conversation is the principle of an awareness.
Absolutely. Ooh, I love that word,
To
awareness.
be aware, to be aware. And
Yes.
sometimes people are not conscious. They're unaware of how they're impacting, what they're saying,
Yes.
what they're doing to others. And so
Yes.
when you yourself, are able to come through a new consciousness, have a new understanding, a new enlightenment, a new awareness, that it really is the beginning of your new life purpose.
Yes.
And so that in itself is the answer to the big journey.
Yes, but you just said something that's we're going to segue over to chapter 7, the brain and transcendental meditation. You were talking about consciousness, and the quote is by David Lynch, which I need to know how you met David as well, because he's also an icon in the film industry, in the TV industry. Consciousness is life. If you don't have it, you're not alive. Let me just say, because I'm going to let you go, but let me just go really quickly. Before I had all my therapy, and I got my tools and all that stuff, I lived a lot in my subconscious. Like, okay, so I had a lot back here that had to
Living
come
in
up
your
here
head.
that I had to deal with.
Yeah, you were living in your head. You were living in the
I'm
past.
living in the past. I'm living in my head. So I had to actually bring all of the subconscious hurts, childhood trauma, all that stuff to the forefront to then unpack it with my therapist. And that's where listen, I have it tattooed to my freaking wrist.
That's
On
perfect.
May 31st, 2016, I met myself for the first time. And you know what? I didn't really like that person. And I had to figure out why I didn't like her, because I had to live with her every day, right? Because you can't escape yourself. You're living with yourself every single day and there's no escape. So you're either going to like yourself and enjoy your time with yourself, or you're not going to like yourself and it's going to be miserable every day. So let's talk about the living in your consciousness. Tell me about that, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I mean, like we were just talking about a sense of awareness. I mean, David Lynch, that was his thing. And what's really awesome about David is, he talked about in the film that, like, he was also divorced. He talked about, his anger, and when he started to meditate, how he had a change in his personality, and his ex-wife noticed that and said, David, what are you doing? And so the truth of the matter is that, the idea of being able to transcend, being able to meditate, being able to reset, being able to take 20 minutes for you every day is really the beginning of your own consciousness, your own awareness, and taking that time. So, I mean, the quote is so beautiful. If you don't have consciousness, you're not living, you're not alive, right? So when you become conscious, you become aware. Everything is just, you're just more in tune.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So let's reset really quickly.
Sure.
I want to go to a little bit of our chat because we're missing some of these comments. Greg, you will be an amazing father when the time is right. That's what Rosalinda said. Deepak is an amazing person and author himself. And she said, wow, you met Deepak. Gina said, wow, he's amazing. And then life is a journey, and Rosalinda said, life is a journey and a continuous marathon. Live life to the fullest daily and everything else will fall into place. I love that so much, Rosalinda. Let's reset really quickly. Let's do the NBC reset. My name is Sally Colon, and I'm here. This is Sally's Book Club, and I always have the most incredible authors. And I've been extending my show to also filmmakers. And today we actually have both. We have an author and a filmmaker all in one. So it's perfect. His name is Greg Reitman. He wrote a book called Rooted in Peace. It's also the name of his film. They're both available on Amazon, also Audible with his voice, so he can read the book to you. And the book is incredible. The movie's incredible. So we're going to go to one more chapter, and then we're going to talk about the movie. So I want to go to chapter 11. It's a longer quote. It's by Mahatma Gandhi. Which everybody knows. And it's kind of a longer quote, but I want to read it because I think it's important. It's called The Great Wake-Up Call, which we absolutely all need a great wake-up call. We but mirror the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him. Oh, I love that. This is a divine mystery supreme, a wonderful thing it is, a source of our happiness. We need not wait to see what others do. Okay, I gotta say something very quickly and then I'm gonna let you go because I love that so much. You know, people tell me all that, people always ask, because I'm also a life coach. I don't know if you know that. And so I get a lot of my clients. Yeah. So I'm a life coach as well. So I have clients that I work with and all that stuff. But, they talk about like self-confidence. They talk about self-awareness. I always say, look, if you walk into a room with your head down and your energy's low, people are going to treat you that way. They're not going to want to be around that kind of personality. They're going to treat you that way. If you walk into a room with total confidence, right? Like you walk in a room like you own the room, that's how people are going to treat you because you teach people how to treat you. Right? So I love what this chapter, what they said right here, what he said. It said, if we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. As a man changes his own nature, so does the attitude of the world change towards him, because we teach people how to treat us. Tell me about that, Greg. Oh my God, I love that so much.
I'm going to say a couple of things. I'm going to share a couple of things that I haven't shared in a long time. So I had the opportunity to meet Arun Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi's grandson. In New York, and Arun, who's had a book at the time that he was promoting, I had a chance to talk, and he was, one of the things he said, which is really just, he was talking about his grandfather, well, obviously we all know who Gandhi is, but he was talking about one word, and that word was called respect.
Wow.
And he said
such a simple word, right?
Yeah, but it's the heart and core of living. And he said,
absolutely.
Look, because if you don't respect your mother, you don't respect your father,
yes.
how does your family look? If you don't respect your workers, what does that look? If you don't respect your wife or your girlfriend, what does that look? He said respect is at the core of everything that we do. So if you're collaborating with people, do they respect you?
Yes.
If they don't respect you, you're not going to have a good collaboration.
Absolutely.
And so what I've learned, which is probably the greatest gift I can share today with you, is this. You were asking me about the toolkit.
Yes.
And the toolkit really is, ask the question, does this person respect me?
Wow.
If they don't,
so
then why are you affiliating yourself with them?
Absolutely.
And what you're going to get from it, if they are respecting you, you're going to get meaningful, loving engagement.
Yes.
Which is what everybody wants. Everybody wants to feel like they have a sense of belonging and together and commitment. So that's that's my share.
Yes, I think that's a great share. I would say, it's interesting because I am friends with all of my ex-boyfriends. And I say that because even after we broke up, I was still kind. I'm good friends with my ex-husband, but that I say, for me that says a lot about my decision and my choice, right? Because we can all choose to be a jacktard with somebody. We could all choose to be angry at somebody. We could all choose to judge somebody and blame somebody else for, things that happen in our lives. Or we could take responsibility, point the finger at ourselves and say, what is my part? Because we all have a part. We all have a part. Some people say, they get divorced. Oh, well, because he had an affair, so I divorced him, so that's his fault. No. What's your part in that? There's always your part in that, right?
Always.
So
Always.
as long as we can take that on of what is my part in that situation, if a friend gets angry at you, if you get divorced, if you lose your job, whatever it is, don't blame someone else. What was your part in that, right?
Always.
Always. Yes.
Self-responsibility is
Take responsibility. I love that.
Yeah, and you have to take responsibility of everything. If you don't, you'll just be blaming everybody. You'll be incredibly unhappy. So self-responsibility is
Yes.
actually liberating. You
Yes.
actually feel better when you take responsibility.
Absolutely. And Rosalind. Oh, sorry. You're. It showed that you were still talking, but I didn't hear you.
No. I'm good.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to go a little bit to the chat because our ladies are on fire today. It says, it took me a while, Gina says, it took me a while to learn how to take a step back when I feel triggered. That's good that you know that though, Gina. I love that. Life is a journey and continuous marathon. Live life to the fullest and daily. I think I read that one. That is actually a great aspect, Sally. Very beautiful to still hold relationships after breakups 100%, because it makes, here's the thing. If you're not getting along with somebody, in more than most cases, those people can care less. You're the only one being hurt by that. You're the only one living in unrest because you're choosing not to talk to that person, right? So unfortunately, many people don't take responsibility for their actions. 100%, Gina says. Rosalinda says, own up to your responsibilities always. Yes. And on that note, and let me reset really quick with our NBC reset. And then we're going to we're going to talk about your movie because I watched it last night and it was great. So this is our NBC Reset. My name is Sally Colon, and you're watching Sally's Book Club right here on Amazon Live on Sway TV. And I'm with my new good friend from Clubhouse, of all places, Greg Reitman. So fantastic. And he has a book that came out. It's on Amazon, and he has a movie as well. It's called Rooted in Peace. And I watched your movie last night. It's a documentary. And I love, first of all, that you were so involved in telling your story. The movie was about you and your journey, and throughout the journey, that we had Deepak, we had David Lynch, your girlfriend who became your wife at the end, which maybe I shouldn't have just said that, but because maybe that was I just told the end of the story. But I thought it was great, and I loved hearing your story. It was a real life story about your life. But give us like the 60-second synopsis of what the movie is and why you chose to make it.
Yeah, really simple. Like Rooted in Peace was a self-inquiry, and really what I was doing, I was asking the question, why are we so angry? Why don't we connect with nature? And by putting myself, as first person POV in the film, I was basically, going through that process. Mm-hmm. And really with the film, I think the genius of the film is it's really not about me. I think what it really is, it's an every man or every woman quality that we're all going through. And so when they see me, they really see a part of themselves. And we're all asking the same question, and we're all searching for that same truth. And really at the end, which is awesome, is you find out really that it's really all about you and what you want to do and the life that you want to live.
Absolutely. Well, one part of the movie that I thought was great, and it was a good way for us to follow your journey, was your bonsai tree. So you had this bonsai tree that you took with you from basically from the beginning of the movie on to the end, where then at the end you actually you have some trees that you guys plant. You plant some trees with a group of individuals, some kids, some parents, some families. I'm guessing it was a nonprofit that you were involved with. So tell me about the bonsai tree. What was the symbolism of the bonsai tree in this film?
Well, it's a great question. You're awesome, Sally. So, bonsais are really hard. They're hard to take care of. They're hard to maintenance. They require a lot of nurturing, a lot of care, and a lot of, love. And I was really, part of the journey, I was trying to create some symbolism, with the idea of replanting, regrowth, the idea of that a bomb had dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is where I was, and really, that journey of really understanding, why as a country, as a world, that we would do that. And the bonsai really became sort of a motive. It was sort of the driving force to really look at like what kind of nurturer are you? Where are you with nature?
Right.
And the idea of like taking the time to be with nature. And so,
Yes.
so the bonsai really, and then, the idea of passing it forward. So, anytime you can, using sort of symbolism again for
Hmm.
yourself,
Yes.
it really, and it sort of just grew, to
Yeah.
be honest. I mean, and they're very difficult. They're very difficult to maintain. I'll just say that. Very
Well,
difficult.
you took your bonsai tree everywhere in this movie. I think you were on the subway with the bonsai tree. You were like just everywhere. It was so funny. I was like, there's the bonsai tree again. So I wanted to ask you, this is just a silly question, but is it
Sure.
Hiroshima or Hiroshima?
Hiroshima.
Hiroshima.
It's Hiroshima. It's Hiroshima.
Hiroshima. Okay, because I watched a movie with actually my ex-boyfriend was in town visiting me. He was my plus one at the Oscar party I went to on Sunday, and he stayed a couple extra days. But I was like, "Do you want to watch a movie tonight?" Because I'm interviewing the guy tomorrow. He's like, "Sure." So he watched it with me, and he's like, "Whoa, I thought it was wait, say it again."
Hiroshima. It's
Horish,
Hiroshima.
yeah. And so we
Mhm.
were trying to figure out which one it was because I feel like if one person says it's this and the next person says it's this, then we all follow, right? And
Right.
then,
No,
but we've all been saying it wrong.
they made we made sure we pronounced it correctly.
Which is great. So that was something new that I look, I have a
Yeah, and,
telemarketer. I have a telemarketer calling me right now. Like it's just nonstop. Anyway, so
and even like being at the UN and seeing the peace belt again, there was the connection with Japan, and maybe like we always take things from like different movies, right?
yeah,
So there is a sort of a stereotype, but there is something like that I guess I learned from the Karate Kid, of him
right.
learning to take care of trees and bonsais and all that,
Yeah.
right? So hands on, hands off, right?
Wipe
Yeah.
on, wipe off.
Yeah, yeah. So what I mean. So I guess
Yeah.
for me, I was sort of, that was sort of my self journey.
Right, exactly. So if you're just joining us, I'm here with Greg Reitman. His new it's not a brand new book, but he's had it for a while, but it's called Rooted in Peace. We met on Clubhouse, of course, of all places, because I'm addicted, and that's where I meet everybody. So let's just go here real quick. It's actually one of our featured items. There it is right there. It's called Rooted in Peace, an inspiring story of finding peace within, which I feel like everyone in the world is looking for that peace within, especially now with this pandemic, with everything that's going on. Are we opening? Are we not opening? Is this city opening? Is that city? And it's just so confusing. And we're all just looking for that little piece of peace. You know what I mean? It's like a piece of pie, that yummy piece of pie, pumpkin pie you put in the microwave, then you put some whipped cream on it. We're all looking for that piece of peace, right? If that's a thing. And so his book is available. It's at $3.69. Come on, somebody. Maybe we'll give the book. Should we give the book away? We should give the book away.
I mean, I look at it like you can do whatever you want.
Yes.
I always think like the gift is always giving it forward. So
Absolutely. Yes.
And I love the idea of passing it forward. So absolutely, yes.
Absolutely. So we're going to give the book away. We'll say like in the next 15 minutes, we'll give the book away. Nance says hi. Hi, Nance. I'm here with Greg. If you haven't seen the whole interview, if you're just joining us, it's going to be available on swaytv.com, and go to the replays and you can see this entire interview, like the whole thing. You can also see all my previous interviews with Dr. Caroline Leaf, Tim Story, Rob Mack. Last week I had Julio, who has a movie called Buck Run that's available. So all of these interviews that I've been doing are all available on swaytv.com, and then just click on the replays and you can see all of them. It's also it's going to become a podcast, all of these shows. Faith Parker says poggers. I'm not sure what that means. What does that mean? I so love this name of the title. Great title, Greg. She loves your title, which is Rooted in Peace. It's own up to your responsibilities. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. And so I'm going to actually, while I'm sitting with Greg, so Greg, tell me, How long did it take you to make the movie? What was the budget if you're open to, sharing that? Because sometimes people are like, what does it cost to make a documentary? How did you raise the funds? I want to know all of that.
So you want to know a little bit about behind the scenes?
Yes.
So the film was really, it was really challenging. One, how do you show peace visually, right?
Yeah.
So one I had to learn, the mechanics of peace building and peacemaking, and so it took a little bit longer. I think the total journey was about 6 years.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, it took a while. I think that we started maybe like I think we started in 2010, but we really started, like I would say, in 2012. And then it was released in like 2016. It went out theatrically via Landmark Theaters, and the DVD and the Blu-ray was available in all of Whole Foods nationwide.
So wait, you said it took you 6 years?
It took about 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would say 4 years. It was really 2012 to 2016, but I would say we were developing the idea. We started developing in 2010
Oh,
or
wow.
2009. So I think we did a development of like about almost 18 months, which is actually a normal development time to really figure out what the story we were trying.
So what was the release date?
It was done during the International Day of Peace, September 21st, 2016. So we were really fortuitous at the time, which obviously we don't have theaters opening, but Landmark Theaters, Mark Cuban's company, put the film out theatrically, and then I had a booking
Oh,
agent
wow.
that I hired that we released it ourselves. We did it and we put it out to about 225 theaters around the country.
Oh, wow. Good for
And
you.
we did a giveaway. We had these little planets that you like hug a planet, and
Yeah.
so we gifted them out to 20 major markets, so all the kids got like a little hug a planet.
Oh, that's so
So, so
great.
yeah, and so it was really an incredible experience. One, to put out a film out theatrically,
Yeah.
and to do it on the International Day of Peace, and then it went out again. It got a DVD released via Whole Foods. I don't want to release the budget. I'll just say it was a seven-figure documentary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
Oh
Well, if you
my
think about
gosh.
it, I don't know if I paid seven figures, but if you look the value of, if we added in all the deferments and everything,
Yeah.
that's really what it is. But if you look at all the visual effects and the animation, our animation team was phenomenal. So if
Yeah.
you saw all those animations,
Right.
those were all Walt Disney crews, right?
Oh,
Who
wow.
worked at Disney, so the animation alone, if we would have paid in real time, would have been about $250,000.
Ooh, that's right.
Plus the visual effects, we had a really great visual effects team, would have been like another 100,000.
Well,
So
listen, if you're looking to do a documentary on a budget, my budget was 150,000, so I know how to do a documentary at a low budget.
yeah, no, I mean, look, I made my first film, Hollywood's Magical Island, Catalina. You can see the poster. I did that film for $67,000 on my
Oh,
credit card.
wow.
So, it was narrated by
Amazing.
Peter Coyote. It still makes money today. But so
Yeah.
I do understand low budget.
Good. Yeah.
And so the difference between low budget and high budget. But I really think, in today's market, a normal, professional budget, it's, you're going to spend $1 million to $2 million. If you start adding in just your salaries for the
Right.
director, the producer, your writer, your creative people, your DP, even if everyone's making just say a minimum of $50,000 and you're
Right.
carrying 5 people, that's $250,000.
Yeah, no, it gets expensive. It does. You can
Yeah.
make, one line producer can budget a film out for, let's say, 750,000. The same exact movie, a line producer can budget it out for, 2 million. So it just depends on, do you want to put your actors up at the Ritz-Carlton or at the Motel 6? It's like
No,
do
we
you want
thought
to
that-
have, what's his name? Who's our big caterer out here in Beverly Hills? Who's our big guy that does all the events and stuff? Wolfgang. Do you want Wolfgang Puck to do the catering, or do you want your cousin Sally to do the catering? So it all depends on how you choose. You know what I mean? I've done films that were 250,000 budget, a feature film, scripted, and I've done films that were $1 million budget that were very similar. But it just depends on the line producer, the producer, the
Yeah,
people
and
that are
so
investing.
And so we were very lucky. Like my DP, his normal rate is $1,500 a day. I think
Oh,
I was
wow,
paying
that's
him-
high.
I think I was paying him like $200 a day.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying, if you look at above the line, but if you look at like the film and the cinematography,
Right.
brilliant. I mean, the cinematography just looks like, $1 million film.
Is this
And
for, you're talking about your documentary?
Yeah, for
Okay.
my documentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you look at like just the visual, the
Yeah.
just the quality of the filming, Dane Lawing is just an extraordinary director of photography.
Right.
But he loved the film and had just so much compassion, they just made it work. So we were very
That's
fortunate.
great. So, what
Yeah.
are some other, and we'll wrap up. Let's see, we got to, yeah, we'll start wrapping up. Let's say we'll do another like 5 minutes. What are
Sure.
some other projects that you've worked on? Because I know that you're a producer director, you've done other projects. Tell us some of those.
Correct. So, I made a film in 2019. I got out of the nonfiction pond and got into fiction films. And so I did a film with Kurt Russell called Crypto, which Lionsgate put out in 2019 theatrically. And then it went to Netflix and now it's on Hulu. So it's a feature spy thriller. We did with Yale Productions, which is awesome. And then what else am I doing? And now in last year we launched the Blue Water Film Festival, where we curated about 20 films and doing a summit where we had 20 speakers. And this year we have our second Blue Water Film Festival. We have 30 films, which includes Disney, Nat Geo,
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, just incredible films. We about 18 short films. I can also just give a little prelay that I think the short film that wins at our film festival will be showcased at the Cannes International Film Festival.
Amazing.
So that filmmaker is in for a real ride, whoever wins. And that just organically came when I became an associate or an adjunct professor at New York University. One of our professors is on the jury at Cannes. So and he's
That's great.
got involved. So yeah, we're really excited about our festival.
Incredible.
Runs June 4th to June 8th. It'll be a hybrid. It'll be virtual and physical. And
Okay.
then we have 50 speakers coming this year for a Blue Water Summit.
That's
One of which,
incredible.
yeah, well, probably the biggest coup is the U.S. State Department's coming.
That's great.
So
So, where do
yeah,
is there a website that people can go
there
to
is.
for more
So
information?
yeah, so it'll be on filmocracy.com. That'll be our virtual platform, and then also we'll also the Blue Water Film Festival.org, which will link to Filmocracy, and then the Blue Water Summit.org, which will also link in as well.
Amazing. Amazing. And so, Rosalinda, so Rosalinda loves my laugh. I actually created a show just based on that. It's called Laugh, Love, and Shop. It's every Friday night. It sort of became a game show like Fun Friday. And so because I laugh a lot usually on my shows when I'm having a good time, and Rosalinda's always like, laugh for us, laugh for us. So anyway, I just shared my laugh. And then David S. says, how about the Michael Moore documentaries? Like, what do you think about Michael Moore? And then we'll kind of end with that.
Sure. So Michael Moore, I think what he does really well is he makes sensationalized content. He
Yes,
likes
I
to
agree.
sensationalize.
Yes.
And so there's a difference between like investigative reporting
Yes.
versus sensationalized content. And so I would just say that Michael Moore is the master of sensationalized content.
Yes, I agree.
There's definitely a distinction in terms of, being an investigative reporting and being in journalism and telling that story versus sensationalizing
Yes.
and doing it in a way where it's sort of a mixed message. I mean, my feeling is always like being truth to power. The journalism, the documentary filmmaker is really front and center and bringing the truth forward. So I love you know finding stories and bringing that truth forward. I think that's what really makes me really generates me and
Yes.
empowers me.
I agree. I agree. I think Michael Moore is kind of like a train wreck, in my opinion, when he's
He
making his
is. I
films.
mean,
Because and we're all rubbernecking. We all want to see. It's like that car accident on the side of the road, and we're all rubbernecking it because we want to see like what's going on back there. Is somebody bloody? Like did somebody die? Which is so sad that we're that way as humans, but we are. And Michael Moore knows we're that way, and so he creates films, like you said, that are super sensationalized. They're the train wreck that everybody wants to see, right? So I try not to be that kind of filmmaker. I know that you try to be that kind of filmmaker. Like we really want to tell stories that are truthful and honest and like above
empowering.
water. You know what I mean?
And empowering.
And empowering, absolutely inspiring, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like, look, making a nonfiction documentary, is a really hard and arduous journey. It takes a lot of
Yes.
time, a lot of intelligentsia,
Yes.
and Michael Moore, has found a way to
Absolutely.
make money in the genre. I
Yep.
just want to say this, like what Michael Moore did, which is really awesome,
Yeah.
is he proved that the documentary could make money.
That's
You know,
right.
back in the day. No, it's really true. My
Yeah, no,
friend
I agree. Trust me, I
Steve-
have one that's still trying to
no,
make money right now.
no, listen to this. So my friend Steve Rothenberg, who passed away when he was about 50, right, was the head of distribution at Artisan, which is now Lionsgate, and distributed out 9/11, Michael Moore's big film.
Wow.
And at the time, everyone said, documentaries were the bastard child. No one really wanted them. They never
I
thought
agree.
there was never an appetite for them, and
Yeah.
they never thought they could make money.
Right.
So the fact that Michael Moore broke that glass ceiling
Yes.
and showed to the world that a documentary can make seven figures,
Yes.
that people will see it. For that point of view, I love Michael Moore.
Yeah.
And nothing more than that for him. Let's just be really clear.
Yeah.
But he did serve, the documentary community in that way,
Yeah.
and really open up the doors for a lot of nonfiction producers and creatives
Yeah.
that could make content that people would actually pay money.
Absolutely.
And
I agree.
and that woman, was it that young singer Billie Eilish?
Yes.
Her film got bought by Apple documentary for, guess what, $20 million.
lot. A lot.
$20 million.
Right.
So, it was pre-sold. So the idea that we now know that this form of content actually has a place in the market, that there can be real budgets, real money. And the truth is this, Sally, you're making films for $150,000 documentary, but because you can go out, you can shoot, edit.
Right.
But in reality, that's not really what the cost of the real film is. If you had to do a union production,
Oh, yeah.
and actually had to really cost it out, you're never going to make that film for 150.
Never.
It's going to be like 1.5 million.
Absolutely.
So the truth is this: the fact that young filmmakers could grab their cameras, could become
Right.
storytellers, and
Yeah.
could show that they could actually tell a story. That
Yeah.
was the empowerment of the documentary. But
Absolutely.
not to say least, that they actually make money. Great for Michael, and the fact that he paid.
Yes, 100%. So we're going to close with this. I want to just, for those of you that are just joining us, let's do a quick reset.
You got to do one more thing.
We're going to do it one more time. We're going to reset the room, and then we're going to close this segment, and then we're going to do a little bit of shopping. So let's just reset real quick with our NBC reset. My name is Sally Colon, and you're watching, thank you for the clap, and you're watching Sally's Book Club. And I had with me today Mr. Greg Reitman, who I met on Clubhouse, which is where I'm meeting most of my authors, if they're not close personal friends. He also has a movie. Let's go to it really quickly. Here's the book. It's called Rooted in Peace. It's available for $3.69. And it's his, also available on Audible with his voice on it, which is cool. And then you could also download the film and watch the film. I watched it last night. It's awesome. You guys will love it. It's based on Greg's story. And then at the end, can I tell him the end?
No.
No, don't tell him the end. Okay, all right. You guys have to watch the movie. But we're going to do a giveaway. And this is the way I'm going to do the giveaway because I didn't have paper in the bucket. So we're going to do a little bit different. What we're going to do is we're going to ask a question, right?
Okay.
And do we want to do a call-in or do we want to just do the question? Okay, so we're going to do a question. And the question is this. If you were paying attention when Greg was talking about his movie and how long it took and maybe the release date. So whoever gives me the release date first, and I asked him twice about the release date, whoever gives me when was his movie released. So if you could give me the date and the year, you get bonus point. I'll reset the room or I'll laugh for you. You get a bonus. But if you give me the year, maybe I'll let you win. But whoever gives it to me first, you are the winner of the book, and then you'd say hello to swaytv.com, send us your information, we'll send you the book. So who's gonna be the first? Phil Hill says, I heard you in Clubhouse today. He said, great tips. I love you, Phil. Thank you for coming in and saying that. I love when we cross-pollinate the different apps. So Clubhouse meets Amazon, meets Instagram, all of that. Hi, Greg. So make sure that you're in my room on Sunday since we're talking about Clubhouse. It's called The Hollywood Insiders. I co-hosted with my good friend Liza with 2 Z's. She's actually joining me next week. She's my guest next week for Cinco de Mayo because, of course, I'm going to have a Latina for Cinco de Mayo. We're going to do some dancing, maybe play some Mexican music. We'll see how that goes. She's Latina. She's actually Mexican. So I figured, Cinco de Mayo, got to bring my Mexican girlfriend with me. Okay, so Who's gonna win? Okay, nobody knows the answer. All right, here. Okay, so it's a good question. I know. Producer Andy said, "Wait, oh, 2016, bam, Rosalinda, woo!" If
Yeah,
you
and
could
so-
give me, if you could give me the date, then maybe I'll give you an extra bonus. But if not,
That's good enough.
yeah, it's good enough. Andy said it's good enough. Producer Andy says cool. Okay,
Yeah, so-
Rosalinda, you are the winner. Thank you for paying attention to what we were talking about. Hopefully you didn't Google it and you were really paying attention. Because nowadays anyone can just Google anything, right? Next time I'm going to ask, oh, thank you for the applause. Next time I'm going to ask a question that you can't Google. Because I forget people can Google. But not that I'm saying you did, Rosalinda, because I know you always pay attention to my interviews because I love you and you love me. So thank you. You are the winner of the book. We're going to send it over to you. Make sure you I think we have your information. Don't even worry about it. You've won so many things. The book is coming your way. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Greg, for taking an hour of your day to come on my show and talk about your beautiful book that's life-changing, for your movie that was so great. We watched it last night. It was fantastic. And for just the work that you're doing to, plant some trees and connect with people and, get people to get rooted in peace. You and Deepak are changing the world together, and David Lynch. And so I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming. And you know what? Don't forget to check me out on Clubhouse, like in my
I
rooms.
love your Clubhouse, Sally. You're
Thank
awesome.
you.
You're a great moderator.
Thank you.
You rock it. I'm telling you. When I was, like I said, I was a bystander. I was just listening, patiently.
Yeah.
And